Hello, hello. Do you want to feel the profound impact of intentional gratitude and being present in your life? Get ready to dive deep into the transformative power of gratitude through inspiring stories and conversations with amazing humans and business leaders on the Motion of Gratitude podcast. Now, here's your host, Shannon Missimer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Motion of Gratitude podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today. So, with a proven track record of leadership in the competitive arenas of athletics, business, and education, he thrives on working with individuals and building high-performing collaborative teams. His journey has been defined by coaching individuals, constructing winning teams, and fostering genuine relationships. As a dedicated coach, he is passionate about encouraging both personal and professional growth in his clients. After leaving the world of college athletes to join a business consulting firm in Maryland, he faced an unexpected challenge when the pandemic hit in 2020. Laid off and suddenly without a steady income, he turned to a favorite military acronym for inspiration, FITFO, which stands for Figure It the F Out. Yes, the definition of 2020. Embracing the resilience and determination that FITFO symbolizes, he and his family adapted to the situation at hand. The FITFO mentality became a driving force in his personal and professional life as he navigated uncertainty with optimism and forward focus. Through his business FITFO and his coaching practice, he now helps others adapt the same attitude, guiding them through challenges with perseverance, adaptability, and the will to succeed. And all around is just a very cool guy that I'm excited to have this conversation with. Brian Hemming, welcome to the show.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I might just, when this is all done, if you could just send that to me, and I might just have that on my phone. And whenever I'm feeling down, I'm just going to hit play and just have that in the background.
That's my hope. That's my hope.
I mean, dude, you nailed it. I feel real good right now.
Let's just call it quits now. We'll just end the interview.
Hang it up. I'm out.
And we're done. Our work is done. The intro is done. I feel that. But that's you. That's your story. And that's why I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited that we connected. We were introduced through my husband, Matthew, got introduced to you through a friend. And there's just so much beautiful connection. But once I read your story through FITFO and just connecting with you on the phone, even a week ago, I was like, yes, this is a human that I'm so excited to have a conversation with. And just everything that... the choices that you've made, the work that you're doing, the beautiful inspiration of you as a human, as a father. I'm so excited for this conversation. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you so much for the invite. I am always grateful for the opportunities and conversations that come my way. And something that you and I have talked about before is you're one conversation away from changing the trajectory of your life or your business.
Yes.
You just don't know when it's going to happen. So you need to make sure that you've got everything squared away. So when an opportunity does present itself, that door opens, you just got to walk through it and enjoy the ride from there.
Yes. And that's so, okay. So what I love to do is really help people get a better understanding of you as the human Brian, right? Because now it's 2024. You've made a lot of shifts since 2020. And there's been a lot of choices that have been made. You moved from Maryland to this beautiful state of Montana and have made conscious choices for yourself and your family. So what was the catalyst of that? Can you share some of that story to really help us understand where you are now and what brought you to this place?
Yeah, totally. More than glad to share the whole story, part of the story, all of it. And a lot of it is amazing. The highs are sky high, and matter of fact, the lows are below the belt. But that's life. I mean, that's what you have to navigate. And it was what a crazy 4 years it's been, 5 years it's been for us. I look at it from when I was coaching at Towson University and being on Sean Madlin's staff, just being grateful for that opportunity, being surrounded by good men doing great things, working with awesome student athletes, competing and striving to be the best in Division I lacrosse. And we had a great run. My 3 years there, it was awesome. Final Four, conference championships, ranked number one. Just an amazing time for me since I grew up playing lacrosse. And it was really, really neat to kind of cap that part of my life with that experience. And what it led to is just opening another door. Because there's a certain point I was like, hey, this is great, but if I want to continue down this track and do this, I'm going to have to make some changes, make some decisions that are going to be incredibly tough on the family. And sitting down with Aaron and just having a matter of fact, I'm like, I've summited the mountain. I've climbed the mountain. Not figuratively. I mean, I live in the mountains now, but like I've climbed that coaching mountain.
Yeah.
And it's time for me to make a change. So dove into the world of business and took everything that I have learned and have been coached and taught by some great men, as well as my amazing parents, and wanted to lean into the business world. And I was fortunate and had a great consulting company reach out to me and create a role for me. And they're like, Brian, we just want you to do you.
Yeah.
You're great with problem solving, building genuine relationships, connecting people. Here's kind of this, basically white sheeted. And it was awesome. Rocking and rolling, meeting cool people, building, doing things. Then the pandemic hits. And then you get that infamous Zoom invite with two partners in HR, and that's not good.
Yep.
I remember telling Aaron, like, I know tomorrow morning at 9:30, I'm either getting a pay reduction, I'm getting furloughed, or I'm just getting let go.
Yeah.
And I got let go. And I do not blame and hold ill will towards anybody on that. Good men had to make tough decisions in a chaotic time.
Yes.
Being back east, whole cities were shut down. People didn't know if they were going to be able to travel between state and state. Really kind of a wild, crazy time, a dynamic environment, you might say. I might call it a shit show.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's a good term.
But it started this crazy journey that we're on, and this path in life that is wild. That's the best way to describe it, because it's constantly changing. I mean, so here we are, get let go, pandemic, I'm unemployed for 14 months, at a certain point questioning faith in humanity and just how to navigate just life, let alone handling my business personally, being the best husband I can be to Aaron, being the best father I can be to my three amazing kids, and then dealing with everything else.
Yes.
I mean, what a chaotic time. And especially too, when you look at the role of a man, of a husband, of a father, you got to provide. And then here you are, you're in a situation where you're not providing. And the internal stress, consternation, friction of, hey, how do I do it when I physically can't do it because everything's closed?
Right.
And it just wild. I mean, 14 months of just figuring it the F out.
Yep.
And, even to the point, I mean, at one point we were rationing food. Like, it's crazy for me to say that. Here we are in a first world country talking to each other. You're on the other side of the country, different time zones. We're using our supercomputers to have this conversation.
Yes.
And not that long ago, I literally was like, all right, 1 for you, 0 for me, 2 for you, 1 for me. Like, I know that.
Yes.
I'm never going back there. It doesn't define who I am or who we are as a family, but it's part of the story. It's part of the journey of being able to navigate everything, just kind of going literally like all over the place.
Yep.
And still keeping on track of where you want to go. And so that time just kind of created some opportunities and some brain space for us to literally be like, all right, time to make some changes. Let's kind of lean into it. And we did. I mean, we basically became modern day pioneers, packed up all our stuff, moved across the country into the mountains. Here we are. We live in a small town outside of Bozeman called Belgrade. We moved out here to be closer to Erin's family. Her family's originally from Phillipsburg, a small little town northwest of Bozeman. And they've been out here since 1876. So they're Montana OGs.
Yeah.
And we just had that conversation as a couple, Shannon, of like, do we stay in Baltimore where I felt it was just like the slow choke? Yeah. Like everything I was trying, what we were like just trying to figure it the F out. It just wasn't working, trying to put the square peg in the circle hole. And all of a sudden, like an opportunity presented itself. And we're like, screw it, let's just go.
Yeah.
See what happens. I'd rather risk that and then stay with the pain and the uncertainty and like lack of hope that I was going through. Like, I'd rather jump into the unknown than stay where I'm at. And
Yes.
a lot of people find themselves like that, but they'll hold on to what they have and they get comfortable in that pain and that kind of miserable being.
Yes.
Don't make the move. I'm telling you that right now. You'd be surprised what will open up for you. And yeah, we could have held that ground. Could have like been like, dude, this is it, and we're gonna hold this. But in reality, at what cost?
Yep.
At what cost to us as individuals, like here in our heart and in our head, our spirit? What about our kids?
Yep.
What about our relationships? Because if you're a sour person and you're miserable, guess what? The people around you are slowly going to become just like that. And you're going to attract that too,
Yeah.
which then just creates this black hole of just misery nobody wants to be in.
Yeah.
And so Aaron and I had that talk. Hey, here's an opportunity. We're already in dire straits anyway. Let's just go. Let's become modern day pioneers and head west.
Yes.
That's what we did.
It obviously resonates so deeply, right? Because it's like,
Yep.
There's that moment of sitting in like, well, what do we have to lose, and feeling like being in this space. And I love connecting with somebody who takes that leap, right? I feel like we've had so many people that we've connected with that are like, oh, we really want to do it, but we're just not, So like, what was it in you that like could step into that risk and say it's worth it? Like, was there a defining moment? Was it just like, screw it? Or like, what was really in that space for you where it's like, okay, we're going to do it?
I feel that first step out of the corner you've been pushed into, or that first step into the unknown, are huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Yep.
And I was able to step out of that corner I've been pushed into because of the guidance, coaching, and mentorship from the men that coached me as an athlete and from my parents. I stand in front of you today. I stand on the shoulders of giants. Brian Hemming did not show up here today without the help, encouragement, support of others.
Yes.
And as you know, I'm a confident guy. And I was like, you know what? Here we go.
Yep.
We're just going to go.
Yeah.
And we had reached a point mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically, we were already at the bottom. How much further could we go down?
Yeah.
I mean, we were already in the hole, and you're like, well, let's just see if we can get out of the hole.
Yeah.
And just kind of take that chance. Because once you recognize you're in a spot that's incredibly tough, incredibly hard, you can stay there, like I said earlier, and you can enjoy being in the misery and in the darkness.
Yep.
Or you can be like, I see a light. It's far away. I see it. It has the possibility of being everything we want and need.
Yeah.
So do we leave this and move towards the light, not knowing what's in between us right now and that light?
Yes.
And we just go. And so we just went. I mean, I literally was with Aaron and I was just like, fuck it.
Yep.
Called the moving company. We're out. Yep. And literally modern day pioneers, instead of like these big wagons and horses and ox, U-Haul.
Yeah,
move
that's
it.
Right.
I mean,
yes. It's so cool. And I think you said something earlier that I want to circle back on too, because I think it's overlooked in the courage that it takes, especially as a husband and a father and a man in this society that we live in this space of, this providing, right? There's so much pressure and there's so much on this word providing, right? And I think, we've had this conversation in our house, and I'm thinking you might have had it too, just based on the decisions that you've made, where I feel like society has said that providing is for a man is financial, right? Like there's this belief that the providing comes through financial means. And I feel like when there's this opening up of this concept and this idea of providing, and a man can understand that sometimes a wife needs you to provide by being there, as opposed to what you're bringing financially, how powerful that is, right? And it's like, I don't know if that was ever a powerful like shift for you or if it was always there, but I know for us there was this space of like, I'm not always looking for you to be out there providing financially. Like providing is being here, knowing we're in this together, knowing we're making choices as a team. That's providing just as much as like the paycheck, right? So I think about the courage that it takes to redefine that for a man in this society is so powerful and needed, I think. So I don't know if anything there resonates with you, or if you've just always had that perspective that there's more to it than financial.
Well, it's something that I've learned over time. Because again, when you're around everybody and everybody else is doing the same thing, you're like, oh, this is just normal.
Yep.
Like, oh, everybody's punching the clock, 9 to 5, do this. Everybody goes out to eat because it's half price burger night on a Tuesday, and then kids practice Monday, Wednesday, game Saturday. You just get in this loop.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
this pattern.
Yes.
And it takes something to break the pattern.
Yeah.
And for us, it was that the pandemic. I mean, it's crazy. Like you sit there, all of a sudden everything shifted, everything changed, and you start to reevaluate. I mean, God knows I had a buttload of free time to evaluate stuff. I was unemployed for 14 months.
Yes.
And so I hear you when you talk about that providing role and how men these days can struggle there. Like you sit there and in your head, you're like, oh, well, I'm providing, my paycheck, and that gives us a house, cars, provides schooling, whatever. Like I'm doing my job, and that is who I am, and that's how I identify.
Yep.
All right, that's cool. Get it, respect it, but understand the people that you share space with, time with, more importantly, heartbeats with, depends on you as a human being.
Yes.
And not just a freaking cash register.
Yes.
At the end of the day, your wife and your kids just want your time.
Yes.
That's it. They want that time. They want to share those heartbeats, and they want your presence. Because I've been there where I've been there physically. I've been there. I've been there. Mentally, I'm in a different place.
Yes.
All I am doing is just occupying physical space, but emotionally, I'm not tuned in. Mentally, I'm someplace else. I'm literally just space. I'm just taking up space, not engaged. You've been there where people have been having conversations and they look at you and they're like, hey, Shannon, like, what do you think? And you don't even remember the last 10 minutes. You're like, what? Like, say that again. And so when you look at like, yeah, we need money. Money's a tool. Money's a tool for us to get what we need, provide what we have to, but it shouldn't define us. That paycheck and that job shouldn't be your license plate.
Yes.
It should not be your identifier.
Yes.
Yes, it is part of it, but it's not who you are. I remember talking to people, again, playing and coaching at the highest levels. In my 10 years at the highest levels of lacrosse, Division I, Division III, 4 national semifinals, conference championships, all this stuff. I remember talking to people and saying, I was like, hey, there's more to Brian Hemming than chasing a little white ball around a field. And having to set that out there for people to understand that, yes, I am a coach. I take a lot of pride in that. I love problem solving, competing, doing all these really cool things, the strategic planning, the tactical execution, everything, the stadiums, being on ESPN, like all that really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But there's more to me than that.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's a guy too, man. Hey, I love being outside, and I live in a place now where most of the year we're forced inside due to temperatures and snow, but I'm still the guy who's going to go walk outside when it's negative 15. Yeah. I just like being outside. I love being in the outdoors and all that. And so getting to kind of separate yourself from the provider role and having that be your identity, to having that be, hey, this is what I do, but it's not who I am.
Yes.
And kind of creating that. So maybe that gives you some more time and some ability to be more present for your wife and your kids, your friends, and really have those genuine relationships and not just those transactional ones. And everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. Like, How many friends do you really have? Take a moment and think on that. Some people might be, oh, well, I've got a lot, I've got a little. Well, now I'm going to throw a question at another question. Somebody told me this one time: never eat a meal with somebody who you wouldn't starve with.
Mm.
Now look at that first question. How many friends do I have?
Yep.
All right, that's a very topographical question.
Yep.
The second question or the statement: never eat a meal with somebody who you wouldn't starve with. Now your circle is going to get really tight.
Yep.
But how do you build those genuine relationships? By being present, by stepping away from everything else and being the best version of you
Yes.
for people, and being open for that, and being able to have those conversations and build those organic relationships that just transcend just sharing space.
Yeah.
Because then when you start to get into, hey, sharing time and heartbeats, that's some next level stuff for people.
Yep. Yeah, I think what we found too is so much of friendship is an like location too, right? Like when you're in your workspace, like I learned that when I went from the corporate world to stay-at-home mom. I thought I had all these friends, and the second I wasn't in the building, it's like, where'd everybody go? Like,
Yeah, you're like,
I'm like, cool. Like you think there's a genuineness, but it's like, because I'm not operating on the same schedule, because there's not that convenience of location and like scheduling, it becomes a very eye-opening experience to say, like, wow, okay, who are the real people in my life? And
yeah,
definitely shifts that relationship big time. Another question that comes to mind for me is, hearing you talk about all this external success in the athletic world. Like there's an energy to that, right? There's so
yeah.
much beauty that comes from that, and there's so much that external validation. Was that a big shift for you, going from that external world to like, okay, now I'm building something of my own, where you're not getting that like pat on the back, attaboy, like,
Oh
way to
yeah. I mean,
go?
that's, yeah. I mean, when you go to a locker room of 48 to a locker room of one,
Yes.
big difference. And
Yes.
I think the biggest thing when you're doing that, or when you're kind of going through these changes, these seasons of life, is fact of the matter, you got to understand not everybody's cheering for you.
Yep.
Because once you kind of start heading down a path and doing things differently, the people around you that have created a box for you and have put you in the box because it fits their needs and their wants and makes them feel comfortable. Once you start to climb out of that box or break the box, then they want you back in because it just makes them feel better.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, well, this is the Shannon I know
Yep.
and like, or this is the Brian I know and like. And then once you're like, dude, that's not me anymore.
Yep.
Like, I'm like, what you saw years ago or what you saw, whatever, that doesn't exist. And I'm going down this new path.
Yes.
That in itself is hard.
Yeah.
And you find yourself isolated. And so understanding that not everybody's cheering for you. But the second thing is you have to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yes.
You have to be like, you have to believe in yourself, have faith, and just talk to yourself. I do. We were joking about it at the start of this thing. Like, dude, you need to send that to me, and I need to record it. And if I'm ever feeling down, I'm just going to hit play.
Exactly.
I've got this one thing that I keep on my phone. It's great. It's from one of the greatest fighters ever, Ali, and it's him just saying, "Here comes the champ again." And it's like this fight with this drum, and it's really cool. Sometimes I just hit that when I'm like getting ready to go to a meeting, or somebody has reached out about working with me as a coach. I hear that. That just gets the juices going and gets me in a right mindset.
Yeah.
And if you can be your biggest cheerleader, a lot of the noise gets quiet real quick. Yeah. But if you start letting people and their opinions dictate your decisions and where you want to go in life, it's going to be pretty painful for you.
Yes.
And it's going to be slow. And if you're having that be your foundation and how you view success and your self-worth, you're going to lose 10 out of 10 times. Like there's no chance of winning. I'm going to tell you that right now. Some people might agree with that. Some people might not. But if your value is based on other people's opinions and thoughts, game over. Don't even play the game.
Yeah.
It's going to be that painful for you. And so
Yeah.
coming from the world of athletics where there is a lot of external hype, excitement, praise, a lot of, high fives and attaboys and all that stuff, people see like those clips and those moments at the games on ESPN, different things like that. They never see what gets done away from the bright lights.
Yes.
And so all those lessons, all those skills I learned over the years have been honed. Where it's like, all right, cool. Like you can be sitting there and be in a weight room with the sports performance team as a freshman and just sitting there like, dude, what am I doing? Why am I even here? Everybody else is sleeping in. It's 6 a.m. and why? And you can't see like the little gains you're making. And then as a senior, you're like the guy who's built like an action figure, is all everything, and then is getting drafted into the pro league.
Yep.
But there's that journey that a lot of people don't see or don't want to see, but they really love the end result.
Yes.
And they're the ones that come running out of the corners like, hey, man, you're the man. I always believed in you and all this. Like, all right, like, where were you at 6 a.m. on Christmas break when I asked you to come work out with me? Or aren't you the same guy who was busting my chops when I decided to not drink on New Year's Eve because I had practice on this day and this was going to give me the best chance in my mind to compete for a starting role? Yeah. Like, you see, like there's, at the end of the day, you got to believe in yourself and you got to be your biggest cheerleader. Because if you're not, nobody else is.
Yes. So as you're coaching people now, so I want to clarify a little bit too. So you were coaching athletics and now coaching in like supporting people professionally and personally.
Yep.
So as you're coaching people now, what are you finding is like the hardest thing for people to wrap their head around?
Fear of judgment.
Got it. Okay.
Fear, like right out of the gates. Like so many people get jammed up with what others think, or what if this idea doesn't work out, or what if I fail, or what if I just stumble around and I'm not cool anymore, whatever.
Yep.
And once you get past that and understand that, hey, people are going to say and think and do whatever they want anyway, so you just do you.
Yeah.
Let's be the best version of you. Let's be the best version of your business. Let's move forward. Like it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Yeah.
And once you frame it that way, that's how it goes. I mean, look, both you and I are parents. We got multiple kids. Have you ever had a perfect Monday as a parent?
What is a perfect Monday?
Yeah, like I don't even know what it is. But I can sit there and tell you that where we are now with a 12, 10, and 8-year-old, we're in a way better spot now than we were at 6, 4, and 2.
Yes. Yep.
Or 3, 5, and 1. Whatever. You constantly you're on this path, this journey, and it's not a straight line. Yes. It goes everywhere. Sometimes it feels like you're running backwards as fast as you were running forwards. Yes. And it might be the case. But it's one of those things where you just learn to navigate it and understand, like, hey, as long as we're making progress and we have eyes on the prize and we have our guardrails set up so we don't go wandering everywhere and do all this, we'll be fine. Yeah. It might just take a little bit more time. And again, we live in a world today with, we all walk around with supercomputers, right?
Yep.
Where we want an answer 10 minutes ago, we want instant access to everybody, and everybody can comment, like, share our successes or our failures.
Yes.
And I think that is hard for people to deal with because they might have the world's best idea and the greatest intentions. And like, well, what if I do that? And then again, if you've built your self-worth on the opinions of others and you're worried about how many likes or how many thumbs up, thumbs downs, whatever the emojis are, like, you're not going to do anything.
Right.
And so you need to separate from that. And it goes, so being a parent, I mean, wow, like you talk about humbling. I mean, you think you know it all, and then, a 6-year-old challenges you like an all-star, and you're like, huh, didn't see it that way.
Yep.
And you win today. Next.
Yes. There's I think there's a lot that comes with that too, like what you're talking about, that fear, and I was having a conversation with somebody last week, and it was a similar conversation of like, I feel like there's so many times where we want to like see the path before we step to, right? So I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, okay, I know that where I am right now isn't working, but like I have to know that I'm going to be able to replace my salary in this amount of time in order to like bring it to life, right? So it's like, how do you support people in that too? Because I was like, it sounds like we're all looking for unicorns, because
Oh,
it's not
completely.
there. Like it's not there. Whoever figured that out would be a billionaire at this point.
Oh, dude, billions upon billions, trillionaire. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's the thing where you got to take that risk. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at humans over the course of evolution, from wherever we started from, you look at it and you look at, caveman discovering fire. You look at the first person who turned in. I'm fascinated by cooking sometimes because you look at like stuff like how do they know to mix those ingredients to get this?
Right.
Mind blowing when
Yes.
you think about it.
Yes.
Go back to the Middle Ages and all that. You look at space shuttles. You look at technology. You look at performance wear. You look at military equipment. Like everything
Yeah.
just keeps like just getting better, sleeker, smoother, faster, efficient. And you look back at literally go back and look at some of this stuff, man. How goofy were those thoughts and ideas?
Right.
I mean, laughable,
Yes.
laughable. But somebody had the guts, had the resilience, had the faith to be like, you know what? I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And I get it. Everybody wants to, hey, I'm not going to make the move until I know the next move is locked in. All right, you're waiting for the perfect scenario. There is no such thing as a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yep.
We've done it so many times where you wait, you wait, and you're still waiting. I mean, there's a whole lot of waiting going on, not a lot of doing.
Yep.
Whereas I've learned, and I say this all the time, take imperfect action. Now, I'm not telling you to jump out of an airplane without a parachute, but jump.
Yeah.
Make the jump.
Yeah.
It will work out. It might not go as you want it to go, but if you are your biggest cheerleader, believe in what you're doing, have faith that you will get through it, you'll be better for it, and your abilities, you'll be awesome. It will happen. You just don't know when. I mean, I look at what you guys are doing with Motion of Gratitude. You guys have been at this now for what, 7 years?
Yep.
7 years, and you guys have dumped in a fair amount of money to this.
Yep.
And you're still moving.
Yeah.
You're moving the needle. You're doing things. You're having a positive impact. You've had some great opportunities present themselves, like IMG Academy, the pinnacle of high school athletics. You've been involved with them. You Ben Newman, one of the premier coaches on the planet. Like all these things happen,
Yes.
and they just happen.
Yeah.
But you've put yourselves in a position to, one, be open to those opportunities, and secondly, more importantly, being willing to accept them.
Yes.
And so you got to put yourself out there. If you're going to play not to lose, then you're never going to win. And right there is some great coach speak.
Yep, it is.
For all my people that are going to be watching this later on, how many times have you watched a team, whatever league, whether it's like Pee-wees all the way up to NHL, NFL, you can tell when a team is sitting there and they're playing not to lose.
Yes.
What usually happens, the game gets really tight, it gets a little bit squirrely, and the team that should have won because they're playing not to lose ends up losing.
Yes.
And one of the things I've always talked to teams about, what's the difference if you win by 1 or lose by 10? Nothing. It's how you play the game.
Yep.
So how are you going to play the game? How are you going to play the game called life? You going to sit on the sidelines and hope it all works out? Or are you going to, lace up the cleats and dive into this thing full speed and see what happens?
Yeah.
Again, take imperfect action. Get out there. Put in your best effort with a great attitude. Navigate some adversity because there is a buttload of it out there, and we've all had to deal with it and are dealing with it.
Yep.
And you just keep moving.
Yes. Thanks, Coach. I needed that today.
You needed that today, huh?
I asked that question maybe for myself today.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like it's some of these moments, right, where you're like, I'm taking that action and I'm still not like I'm not seeing it, but you're supposed to keep taking that action. Like in those moments, like where you said earlier, sometimes lose faith in humanity. You're like, why is it so hard to like want to help people and like spread good, right? You have all these thoughts that come up, and it is that imperfect action. But like, do you have any thoughts for that person who's like, yeah, I'm taking the action and I'm still stepping.
Still not seeing shit? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
I've been there. You've been there. People that are going to watch this are currently there. I'm there right now. Like, just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't care how big or small the steps are. Just keep moving forward. It will happen. But again, we live in a world where everybody wants it clean, easy, straight and narrow path, all the road signs marking, hey, 2 miles to this, half a mile to that, 20 miles to that.
Yes.
In reality, that journey called life in the world we live in and should be grateful every morning we wake up into, there are no roadmaps.
Yep.
There are no mile markers. There's a lot of figuring it the fuck out on our own.
Yep.
And then on this path that we're creating is recognizing other people, other opportunities that can help us get to where we want to go and what we have mapped out for ourselves quicker.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes.
And so I've been there, whether it's been coming back from an injury where you sit there post-op and you're like, wow, I don't, when you have doctors like, hey, I don't know if you're going to play again. You might not be able to do this. You might not be able to do that. And first time you go to meet with a sports performance team and go through the rehab protocol, and you've been all everything, strongest guy, this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. And it's embarrassing how weak you are and how you don't move like you used to move. And in your head, you're like, well, I used to do this and I used to be able to do that. And you're like, what am I doing now? Like, how can I do it? Can I even do this anymore? Yep. And so that confidence takes a big hit, but you just got to have faith in yourself, your abilities, and that you'll be better for it at the end, and just lean into it. And you'll get better over time, little bit by little bit. And then all of a sudden you find yourself having these crazy big jumps where you might end up taking 3 or 4 baby steps and getting frustrated. Then all of a sudden you take a big leap.
Yep.
And then you might end up finding yourself moving laterally, shuffling laterally for a little bit, then another big leap. And then, I might have to back up a little bit and then run forward 3. That's kind of the path.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, talking to athletes and other coaches that have coached is nobody wakes up one morning a national champion. Nobody wakes up one morning an All-American. There's a long journey there. And a lot of it's in the dark that a lot of people don't see.
Yes.
And I think that work that gets put into it, you have to have the correct mindset going into it. And one of the things I always talk to people about, one, be grateful for the work that you're able to do it. I mean, think about it. Every day we wake up, open our eyes, take a deep breath. We won the lottery. We've got an opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. Yep. Secondly, understand, and if you understand this, it makes your life a lot easier. The fun is in the work. The fun is in the work. People write that down, tattoo it someplace. I don't care. But if you can wrap your head around that, all the work actually is cool because you understand what you're building. And things aren't built overnight. Things just don't happen. It takes time.
Yes.
And you gotta master the boring. You gotta excel at the mundane. But if you keep doing that, all of a sudden you wake up and you look back and you're like, wow, what a crazy journey that was. And here I am, getting ready to do whatever, close the big deal, play for a national championship, start a new business, get hired, lead a group of young people, in a classroom, or when it comes to like music, like leading an orchestra or leading a youth league team out on the field.
Yes.
it just doesn't happen. Like, you just don't wake up one day and like, oh, here's everything in front of you. I'm glad it doesn't go that way, because how boring would that be? I mean, some of you, sitting there and, getting kicked in the head and drugged through the dirt. And I would prefer not to do that all the time, but that's what happens. But hey, when you pick yourself up and dust yourself off, like, all right, I'm here. I survived, I learned, and now I'm going to apply that and move forward.
Yep.
It helps.
Yeah. There's a whole different level of appreciation for it.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. And yes, I can imagine that everybody listening is either in it, has been in it, or is about to go in it, as Ben would say.
Totally.
And I think there's so much power in just that reminder, right? We all know that we have to take the step, but sometimes there's that thought like, okay, I just knowing that other people are out there.
Is unreal.
Yes. So it's
because that's where I feel like that's where other people can creep into your head.
Yep.
And then they push their fears, their concerns, their worries on you. And that's where you got to surround yourself with the right people who are going to challenge you for success.
Yes.
Or they'll look at you and be like, hey, Shannon, I know you got this. It's going to be tough, but I believe in you.
Yes.
And go.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need. And that's like one of the things I've learned just with everything is how you interact with people, and like your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yep.
So all the cool things that you and Matthew and your family are doing, you're creating this really cool tribe. The motion of gratitude, gratosis, like these things are pretty cool.
Yep.
You've got all this stuff going on, but it's attracting people, a mindset, a vibe, a movement, momentum.
Yes.
People need that.
Yes.
And I think too is we live in a world that's so isolating due to technology. I mean, how many times do you go out and you'll see parents at their kids' youth games, high school games, facing a phone?
Yep.
How many times have you gone out to eat with your family and everybody at the table has their face in a phone?
Yep.
Like, why are you even there? Like what's going on? And so when you look at the isolation that's there, even though you might be surrounded by people are alone.
Yes.
People are kind of like, I don't have anybody. I can't talk to anybody and all that. And so one of the things that I've learned over time is just kind of how I roll, and it's through experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is how I engage with people. And I would encourage people to do this, just change the patterns. Once you change a pattern, it changes. Like, how many times do you walk by people and there's like, hey, what's up? Or you don't even get a head nod, whatever. And they're asking a question to an answer they don't want to hear. They're just doing it because that's the pattern.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing, Shannon? Just keep walking. Like, they don't care. Or like, hey, Hemming, what's going on? Or hey, Brian, like, how you feel? Like, hey, I just came from this. They're already 10 steps away. You're like, oh, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So one of the things I started doing a while ago was engaging with people with like, hey, I see you. Because right there, I'm letting them know that we're sharing space. Yes. And I see them in my space. It's like, hey, I see you.
Yes.
And during a conversation, I hear you. Acknowledging that what they're saying and bringing is adding value to me in the time we're sharing. Yes. And those little pattern changes get really different results. All of a sudden people are like, whoa, because it's not the same thing they hear and see all the time.
Yes. It takes them out of autopilot.
Yeah, they're like, whoa, okay. Somebody today in the gym. Yeah, they're like, whoa, what's going on here? Somebody today in the gym asked me, and this is how I answer it all the time. Like, hey, how you doing today, Brian? I'm like, excellent. I always say excellent because you can't drip sarcasm on it. And if you try, you sound like an ass.
It's so true. It's so true.
But again, it's not like, oh, living the dream or, like,
yep.
It's there and it changes. And you can see people like, why is it excellent? It's like, dude, I'm here, I'm there. I got this going on. Had a great call. I got another podcast. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I got a client. Like, and it engages them at a different level. And I think one of the things too is when you're talking to people and working with people and just being around other people, and this, I mean, you'll be around other moms, other dads, children, and sometimes your radar will go off where it's like, something's not quite right. Maybe they're just struggling a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe they're just having a hard time, a rough go, whatever. 4 words can change somebody's life. I mean, legitimately change their whole life. Change that moment for them. And it's, I believe in you. And sometimes that's all somebody needs to hear.
Yes.
Your kids,
So true.
your friends, your husband, your wife, significant, whatever. Is you just need to be like, hey, I believe in you. And then you can follow it up with, you got this.
Yes.
And that can change somebody's day, which then changes their week, which then changes their month, which then changes the year, and then changes the trajectory of their lives.
Yes.
There's so many people out there like nobody believes in me. Nobody cares. Like, bullshit.
Yep.
People care.
Yes.
People want you to win. I want you to win. That's all I care about. I just want people to win.
Yes.
And if you feel like that, then you got to start auditing your circle a little bit, because you want people around like, hey, Shannon, I believe in you. I see what you're capable of. Now, what are you doing to go get it?
Yes.
Because I'm not going to let you sit here and be like, hey, this is year 9 and we're still looking a lot like year 7.
Yep.
All right, well, can I introduce you to the right people? Or what about that? So it's the same thing. It's just being there, and just changing those patterns can have a dramatic impact. First, locally, and what I mean by that is like people in your house, people in your neighborhood, and then just kind of you're putting that pebble into the pond where the ripples go out.
Yes.
And that's where the magic can happen.
Yep.
If you allow it, and if you're ready for it and willing to have those conversations with yourself and with others. Because nobody likes being below average or average. Last time I checked, people want more. Sometimes they just get jammed up on how to get there, but it all starts with yourself.
Yes.
I mean, it really does. And so wow, it's never straight and narrow. I mean, I wish I had the magic pill. I wish I had the secret formula, because I'd be talking to you from a really cool place where it was warm most of the year, and I had some flip-flops on and was getting ready to go to the beach.
Exactly.
But no, don't get me wrong. I love being in the mountains of Montana. I wouldn't change it for the world, but maybe it'd just be a bigger house with some cooler toys. I have no idea.
That's right.
But I think that's the thing when you look at it, and you get this. I mean, you look at the journey that your family took. I mean, you guys were like in an RV, 36 states, Costa Rica.
We were pioneering right with you.
I mean,
modern day pioneers.
I guarantee you that was not an easy thing for you.
Nope.
Sit there and be like, hey, we're going to put everything we have, the most important possessions are us and our kids, and we're loading this thing up, and we're going. Yep. I guarantee you there were people who were like, dude, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Why are you doing it? No way should you be doing it. Yes. But then you and Matthew, and your conviction and your belief in what you were doing and each other took you down this like wild, crazy path. Yes. I mean, look where you're at now. I mean, how cool is that? But was it straight and narrow? Going back to the original, is it straight and narrow?
No. God, nope.
Never.
Nowhere near it. Yep.
I mean, and so I think with people, just changing the framework doesn't change the quality of the picture they're looking at. It just helps you see the picture better. Yes. And I think that's what people really, really need to kind of figure out these days, because everybody, my view of the world is different than yours, and that's okay. Yeah. That's the way it should be. But at the end of the day, we should be encouraging each other to push and to be the best we can be. Yes. And I think that's missing. And yes. I think, people need to get excited about other people winning. Yes. And not holding it against them. I mean, if I ever hear, oh, it must be nice. Oh, you might want to bite your tongue on that one.
Yes, you have no idea.
You have no idea of the journey.
Yes.
That has taken place and is going on. And if you did, I'm pretty confident a lot of you would be like, nope, I don't want that. Yeah. When you're sitting there and you're like, dude, why am I here? What am I doing? Am I right? Am I wrong? Like all this stuff. Yes. You should just be high-fiving people. Yes. And I get it. Not everything's rainbows and roses. And some people are like, oh man, you're positive all the time. Like, no, I'm not. Yeah. There are times where I literally have to work on shifting everything up here to swing back to positive.
Yes.
I mean, there are going to be those moments where you're just like, ah, man, son of a mother. And then you're
Yeah.
like, all right, I got to figure it out because I don't want that spilling over into my family. I don't want,
Yes.
my 6-year-old daughter running around saying, you son of a mother, and you're just like, all right, I need to fix that quick.
Yes.
But, those feelings that people have, because I think sometimes people are like, oh, I have to be happy all the time. No
Yep.
way.
Yep.
You can't do it.
Yep.
But what you can do is acquire the skills to handle those emotions so they're short term.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a bad spot, make it quick. And one of the things, talking to coaches and working with them at different levels, is don't lose a Saturday on a Tuesday. And I've seen it happen where the team didn't have a great game on the previous Saturday. Tuesday, coach is not in a great spot. He's crushing them. He's doing this. So then mentally, they've never healed from that previous Saturday. Physically, they just got blown up again. And now they got to roll into another Saturday against even a better team. And they're just not operating at a high level.
Yeah.
They're just all over the place, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And that can be problematic. So as a leader, a guide, a parent, a coach, whatever, you've got to recognize that, all right, cool, we had a bad moment. Let's learn from it, put it in its box and shut the lid, and then move forward as quick as we can to be the best versions of us.
Yep.
And it's like one of the things that you see it, you're a mother. People are heading off to school. What if somebody forgets their math book? Or what if somebody forgot their lunch? Or they missed the bus? Does that wreck your whole day? Do you want it to wreck your kid's whole day or your day?
Right. No.
Nah. So you just deal with it and move.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing. So handling those emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly are key. And even handling feeling good. Like, I've been there. Like when you're winning, you feel like you can conquer the world. It is the ultimate cure-all. You could you could have nothing in your bank account. You just got a horrible diagnosis from your doctor, but you've won a lot of games. You're like, yeah, this is awesome. And that can mask some stuff that you have to own. And vice versa. If you're losing, it is like the ultimate poison.
Yep.
You can be winning. You could have won the lottery. You could have gotten a clean bill of health. You can have all this. But if you're losing at some levels, it just sours it. It puts that gloom and that shadow over it. And so it's not ignoring the bad when everything's getting good, and it's not, forgetting about the good when everything's bad. It's being able to recognize what's going on and then taking a breath and making those good decisions to handle it. Somebody asked me a while ago, they're like, what's easier to handle, adversity or success? And this was when we were going through everything in the pandemic and becoming modern day pioneers and starting FitFo and doing all this stuff. And I was like, adversity is real easy because there's either you win or you get crushed. That's it. I mean, it's real easy. Either you lean into it and figure it the F out and win and keep moving forward, or you just get crushed. Yeah. I was like, success is incredibly hard because now there's a ton of options in front of you. Mm-hmm. And then choosing the quote unquote right ones or figuring out the timing, it can lead you down a bunch of different paths. Yes. When you're early on in the path, it's real simple. I just got to keep moving forward one step at a time, and I'm going to earn my success. We're going to earn our success. But when you start to have that success, now it starts to open up a lot of doors you didn't even think were there. And that's hard for some individuals and teams and businesses to handle. Yes. And so just being able to sit there and hold the narrow focus, understand where your guardrails are, just helps you keep moving. Same thing like with our families. You're like, all right, yes, this is what we deem important, and this is what we're going to do, and we're not going to move from that. So no matter what else is going on, no matter what the neighbors are doing or what's happening at school, you, Matthew, and your kids, you know what's important to you, and you're going to own that. Yes. And you're going to stick to it. Like, hey, you guys might be the Friday night dinner people. hey, we're always going to have dinner together on Friday night before the weekend starts, and we're going in 10 different directions. But Friday night's our thing. So when people call, I'm like, hey, we want to go do this, or we want to do that, or hey, can we borrow your kid to go do? You're like, nope. Like you hold fast.
Yes.
And those are important.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for sharing all that, because it's, I think, the reminders of how to apply that in real life and, really think about the guardrails and the conversation around adversity versus success. Like, it's such a different perspective to look at that I think we don't always think about. And so it's so helpful to think about it that way. And so as anybody's listening to this and they're like, okay, one, I need to know more about Brian, and I want to know more about the work that he does. So we've talked about FitFo, but can you tell a little bit about your age group coaching and where people can find out more about the programs that you have available?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like FitFo is a really cool thing, and
Yes,
that's
it's
what Aaron and I
awesome.
had to come up with, literally to feed our family and keep a roof over our heads, and making the custom humidors for cigars and
They're
cannabis
incredible.
has been really cool and fun, and we've met so many awesome people through that. And again, grateful and blessed to have been able to ship our custom cans around the country as well as internationally. So really, really grateful for that. And then when it comes to age group coaching, which I do and leaning into 100%, is just getting back to who I am. I felt after coaching, kind of hopping around to some different things in the professional world, the business world, just being a chameleon.
Yeah.
And being what people wanted me to be. And I talked about it earlier, like, hey, Brian fits in this really good box for us, but is it really Brian's box and what he needs? And again, learned a lot. I've been around a lot of amazing people I really keep in touch with. But again, through handling adversity and handling success, I found myself in a spot where, like, you know what? I'm going to get back to what I am, what I know how to do, and what really gets me excited. And that's working with individuals, that's working with athletic teams, and it's working with businesses on being the best versions of yourself and helping them navigate everything we've been talking about today, because
Yes.
it's not easy and it can feel incredibly isolating sitting there and having to like figure it out for your or thinking you're figuring it out for yourself. And that's not the case at all.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need an objective voice who understands you and wants you to win. And I think that's one of the neat things about working with some of the people I'm working with now and some of the businesses is it's just really cool to give them a fresh perspective. Because sometimes they might be all doom and gloom, like, oh, this isn't working. I'm like, actually, when you look at it, you're winning. Like bigger than you think you are. Check this out, because they're only seeing it like what's in front of them, and I'm over here seeing it from this side.
Yes.
I'm like, have you seen this and how what's in right in front of you is going to open those 3 doors? And it's really, really cool. It's I'm grateful for those opportunities. I'm humbled by people that have reached out to me. I'm like, hey, I need to work with you. What can we do? And it's what life is amazing. I mean, what a crazy journey. And so, the best way to get in touch with me when it comes to coaching is hgroupcoaching.com. You'll see me. There's a quick way to get in contact with me, set up a consultation, and we can go from there. But it's really I get excited, and you can tell this. I get excited about people and watching them win, having them earn their success, and being a little part of that.
Yes.
Being there. Maybe it's that voice where it's like, hey, I believe in you. Or maybe it's the other one that says, hey, you got this. Or, hey, man, you're not doing what you need to be doing, so let's do that. And this is how you're going to do it. Help them develop those systems and processes so they as an individual can get to where they want to be. The teams they're leading or working with can chase the wins and earn the championships, and the businesses can have that positive effect on the bottom line and supporting their people and making sure that they're doing what they need to do, so anybody on that team is winning at multiple levels. And so just some really, really just super cool stuff. Again, excited to get this thing like going, leaning into it, and stoked for all the conversations and opportunities that are coming my way.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brian. I just this type of conversation just like lights me up. It's like these are the depth of just the real. There's so much behind the story, and I think there's so many people that are talking about coaching, and I think when you've had these incredible experiences that you're bringing into these coaching environments, it just adds such a different depth for people, and there's a different perspective. Like you said, like somebody's looking at it from here and you're off to the right and saying like, no, there's these different ways in which to do it. And I think it's so powerful. And so thank you for sharing all of your insights and thoughts and your perspective, and just for the conversation. It's been such a joy to get to know you. I still have to meet your wife because I feel like we would have so much fun.
Oh, you guys would have a ball. Yes. Erin is awesome.
Yes.
Like I said, I am blessed. She is super smart, beautiful, sexy. She's an amazing human being. She's an awesome mom. She's a great teammate. I mean, she's everything, to us and our team Hemming. I mean, without her, this doesn't exist. And if I were to say anything else, I'd be a liar, and I'm not. And again, I'm just really, really grateful that I've got 3 small human beings that call me dad. Yes. And so that's kind of, been a lot of the motivating behind it with what I do with, H group coaching, is leaning into that, because I recognize some of the areas where I've had a lot of success and some of the areas where I've failed and am learning.
Yeah.
And one of the things too is you don't have to make the same mistakes that I've made. In fact, I don't ever want to see that.
Yes.
And I will be the voice that's like, hey, I feel you, and I love your attitude. I love your emotion. I see where you're going with this. Be aware that if you do that, you're going to have to deal with 3 things. 2 are okay, and 1 is not good. So you need to tread lightly with this move.
Yep.
And if you can make one of those okays a great, so you go great, okay, not good, let's do that. Yes. And let's get you to great.
Yes.
And kind of roll with it. And so super cool, stoked, and this has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time. This has been so much fun. I wish it was in person, whether you were out here in Montana or
round 2
back in Philly. Like, I think that'd be like really, really cool.
Yes.
Maybe the next time.
That's right. Next time we'll get Matt and Erin and the 4 of us. We'll sit down. We'll do a full podcast on parenting and
that would be
marriage.
Awesome.
I think that would be round 2. I would love to do that. So
that would be so cool. We've got a lot of good family friends around Philadelphia too, and so.
Okay. Well, seriously, next time you make your way out here, I'm in. We got to make that happen, because that would be amazing.
All right. Done deal. I'm going to write that down, and we're going to make that happen. The next time we head east, might be a while, but we're going to do it. And I'll throw out, if you guys come west, we'll do the same thing.
Yes, I will. Next time, if we find ourselves out in Montana, my in-laws are actually building in a part of Montana, not close to you. But if we make our way out there, we'll be pretty close. So we might have to find our way your way.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would love that. Kiddos can hang out, do whatever kiddos do, and adults can go do some adulting.
Yes, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brian. It was incredible to chat with you and just like have this real conversation. So thank you for all of the time today. And I'm excited. If anybody, as you're listening to this, will share all of Brian's information in the show notes. So you can go right there and get all the details of H Group Coaching and FitFo, because you have to check out these cans. They are incredible. We didn't even get into that. So like, the Instagram in general, even if you just start to go look at them, you have to check them out because they are beautiful. So we'll have that all there as well. And I hope that you all remember, as you're listening to this conversation and you're continuing to listen to the Motion of Gratitude podcast, there is more to life than going through the motions.
Oh, so completely.
Have a beautiful day. Yeah.
Please get out of that pattern of going through the motions. Yes. Get present, get involved, and live. Live life, man. Live life the way it's meant to be lived, which is through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just keep your head up, keep your eyes open, and keep moving forward.
Yes. Yes. So you heard it not just from me, you heard it from Brian. There's more to life than going through the motions. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and we'll see you again next time.